Volstead and Nicolas Picot complete the top 10. Josh Price and Jack Weprin, row 11. Dries van Tor and Kevin Petit, row 12. Philip Hamprecht and Luke Knott, row 13. Jack Constable and Josh White, row 14. Peter Griffin and Alessandro Trombelli complete the top 30 on row 15. Ed Brand and Corentin Collignon, row 16. And Michael Cool and Ralph Aron completing the grid on row 17. The race distance for the Senior Winter Cup final is 15 laps. And Chris, who's joined me back in the commentary box, as you said down below, very hard to pick winners and losers from this one.
It is a really high quality field here at the 2014 Winter Cup here in Campos. The sun's back out finally. It's the warmest it's been since Friday. Good conditions now, ideal conditions for this last race of the day up here in the mountains, about 50 kilometres or so inland from the coast at Malaga, and with very picturesque surroundings here high up in the hills at Campos. 2 formation laps then, 15 lap race. You saw the grid there on screen, and now you can see the carts. That's the first corner. This is the one they're all talking about. It is a really interesting corner, a very quick corner, but it does tend to have them all bunched up, and there are 1 or 2 incidents into the first corner here at this circuit. Just the angle of the right hand up and the nature of the fact that it's very difficult for those on the outside to get back across to the right line, and very easy to be hung out to dry and find yourself on the curbs or even in the gravel. So that's the view down through that middle sector. This is them coming down towards turn 10. The lap split into 3 sectors, the middle sector the biggest of them, the last sector the shortest of them. We get the sector times, and you get a view as to which carts, which drivers are quicker and which parts of the circuit. And being a long track, being around about a mile long, this circuit, just under a mile long, it is a balancing act in terms of getting the cart set up. What works at one part of the circuit might make the cart a bit slower around other sections, so you're always getting the best compromise. So, leading them round, Guan Yu Zhou, junior champion. What's he going to do in seniors this year? What is he going to do in seniors? He's looking better and better each and every time I see him. But Joseph Riley, looking very relaxed, looking very calm. It's going to take some stopping. His worry will be this first corner, Ken, because he's going to start from second on the grid. Here they go. Ken's going to talk you through the start of the final race of the day.
Guan Yu Zhou on pole position, Joseph Riley alongside him on the front row. We're racing, and Guan Yu Zhou gets the jump, and Jess Bachmann goes with him, and Glenn Van Paris a good start as well. Not so sharp by Joseph Riley, but he was perhaps having the words of Chris Hartley ringing in his ears, not get hung out to dry. Guan Yu Zhou and Jess Bachmann for Strawberry Racing, climbing up to the top of the hill. Glenn Van Paris, if I'm reading those race suit colours correctly, still in third place. And a nice jump out by Guan Yu Zhou. It wasn't simply that he'd got the advantage of pole position. He handled the first turn well under a lot of pressure from Jess Bachmann as these two drop down to the left-hander towards turn 5, which is often, or turn 7, which is often the first of the overtaking points. Well, nobody close enough at the moment to be doing that. Jess Bachmann in third place now, as I've misread the Joseph Riley position in second place. So it was Joseph Riley when I called Jess Bachmann previously, but the bottom line is it's a good start for the Strawberry Racers.
A very good start, and there are a few rising through the order a bit further back by the looks of it. I reckon Pierce Lane's made a bit of time up on this first lap. 1 or 2 further back look like they've got caught out at the back of the field. There's been a drama for Kevin Petit, he's at the back. 1 or 2 others, 2-4-4 at the back as well. Luke Knott's got tangled up on that first lap, and Eva Benez is at the back. She got caught up in a first lap tangle. So 5 carts, I think, having dramas on the first laps. Guan Yu Zhou, though, at the front of the field that leads the way as they go up to turn 4 for the second time. Joseph Riley is second. Jessica Bachmann, they're in third place, going really well. Can the Bachmanns take 2 trophies home to Sweden, with brother Andreas having been on the podium in the DD2 race? Tom Grice up to 4th. He'll be bit more pleased about that. Glenn Van Paris 5th. Jaro Dekker still up there. He's been up there consistently this weekend, the Dutch driver. He's 6th. Lamborelli 7th. Connor Jupp is up to 8th place already. So a couple of drivers flying up the order then. Lamborelli and Jupp.
Glenn Van Paris taking the place off Tom Grice, but Tom Grice fighting back.
And then about to lose a place himself, isn't he, to Jaro Dekkers? Or is it Lars Lamborelli coming into the mix as well now? Those 4 all trying to swoop past him as they run down. And that battle for 4th place is getting very hot indeed. It's allowing the top 3 to break away. It looks to me like Joseph Riley might be ever so slightly quicker than Guan Yu Zhou on that lap. Let's have a look as they come through. A 65.5 for Guan. No, a 65.7 for Joseph. He was quicker, I think, on the last sector. No, he wasn't actually. Just ever so slightly slower. He's almost matching the times of the leader. He is, though, not any quicker than Jess Batman. So those three almost on exactly the same pace. Van Paris still leading that second group. He's fourth. Jaro Dekker's fifth now. Lars Lambrell's come up to sixth place. Remember, Lars started way down the grid in the pre-final, so he's come up nicely now, and deservedly so, because he's been very quick this weekend. Just had some bad luck in the pre-final. So that second group of karts still have a chance here of a podium. Glenn Van Paris is leading what seems to be an endless train of Rotax senior karts up towards that top three battle. Overtaking in the middle of the field, Alvo Talvar trying to get a place back. Alvo dropped back, didn't he, from the second row of the grid. He's only just about inside the top 10, but I think he's just gone back up to 8th place with that move. So watch for Alvo, the Estonian, to come back through the order.
Well, one of our girls going particularly well is Jess Bachmann. Sadly for Eva Benez, something's gone wrong for her. She continues to race, but she's racing all on her own, about 3/4 of a lap behind the rest, and in fact she does come to a halt, so the race is over for the French lady.
Yeah, you'll see on the when we see the camera shot on the run down towards the hairpin at turn 10, Ava, the bright yellow suit, is just pulled off onto the grass, just walking away from the kart now, taking the gloves off. Disappointing weekend, apart from that one really good race, as I said yesterday, in the heats, but she'll be back. Good driver is Ava. The French lady walks away as the leaders come past, with Guan Yu Zhou still being trailed by Joseph Riley. Get a sense he might be biding his time here. They're just edging away ever so slightly from Jess Batman. Jess was as quick as them on the previous lap, but I think at the start of this lap, maybe just falling away a tiny bit. Glenn Van Paris looking a bit more comfortable in fourth. Jaro Dekker's 2 or 3 kart lengths back in fifth. Lars Lambrell is sixth. Connor Jupp is seventh. Tom Grice has fallen back down to 8th. Talvar's 9th. Jack Bartholomew up to 10th place now. Don't forget, Jack came from the second chance heat, then all the way from the back of the pre-final. So he's in the top 10 now.
Well, Joseph Riley, what do we make of what we see in second place? Is he sitting comfortably, waiting for his moment? Or is he driving 10/10ths and just can't catch Guan Yu Zhou? There's very little between them, 2 kart lengths at the most. Often it's down to about, dozen inches or so. But Guan Yu Zhou, not at the moment vulnerable to any challenge by Joseph Riley. But Joseph Riley, as I say, is he biding his time? As it would appear at the moment, Guan Yu Zhou has got half a cushion, if not a cushion. And just to make it easier still for the Strawberry Trio at the front, Jess Bachmann a little bit in that no man's land, where she's not chasing the front two, but nobody behind her in fourth place other than 20 lengths and more away. Chris, 6th and 7th.
Lars Lambrell's just got past Jaro Dekker's coming out through turn 11. So Lars now to 5th place, having a really good weekend. As I said to you yesterday, I think it's the best I've seen him drive in the last season or so. So Lars Lambrell, 222 with the gold and red helmet, now up to 5th place ahead of countryman Jaro Dekkers. The 2 Dutch drivers going well inside the top 6. Connor Jupp's coming after them though in 7th place. Other drivers making good progress here. Philip Hamprecht, spoke to him on the grid. He was 25th on the grid? He's 13th now. Ralph Aron was dead last on the grid. He's up to 14th place now. One that's gone
Rather
backwards.
as you predicted, Chris.
One that's gone backwards is Jay Najjar, though. Jay down to 17th. It's been a real roller coaster weekend for Jay. When it's gone well, you can see what a quick driver he is, but he's out of the running now by the looks of things. There go the top 3 coming out through that turn 10 hairpin. Lap times a 65.0 for the leader, 65.18 for Riley. So gap opening up there, and a 65.136 for Jess Batman. Jess is a few hundredths quicker than Joseph Riley, but you can't really see the gap coming down much. But should the 2 leaders start to battle each other later in the race, she's in a good position to catch them up, and she hasn't got anybody behind her. There goes Jess under the camera now, and there's the battle for 4th place, being led by Glenn Van Paris, and Glenn is being reeled in by Lars Lambrell here, isn't he, Ken?
Indeed he is, and Lars Lambrell looks to be the guy on a charge, doesn't he? Keep our eye closely on that one. Have to say, I asked the rhetorical question about a lap and a half ago. Is Joseph Riley driving conservatively, waiting for his moment, or is Guan Yu Zhou giving him a gap that he can't close? I think I'm going to answer that with the latter, because Guan Yu Zhou just increasing minutely, yes, only minutely, but he is just marginally increasing that lead over Joseph Riley. And as the laps tick by, there's plenty of laps to go still, 9 including the one that they're on, so we're not at half race distance yet. But Joseph Riley would love to try to get a challenge on Guan Yu Zhou. Guan's just got his head down and not leaving any opportunity for his teammate to have a shot. And I do agree with you that Jess Bachmann looked to have been getting closer, but Chris, it's behind them two that the action is.
4th place for Lars Lambrell. He's just slotted up the inside of Glenn Van Paris on the run into turn 13. So Lars absolutely flying. I might go and stick €5 on Lars Lambrell for the podium the way he's going. He's absolutely flying. Let's see what he can do now with a clear track in front of him, because up until this point he's been busy overtaking people. How far back is he on Jess Bachmann? He's 2.6 seconds is the gap he's got to try and close in 8 laps, and then he's got to get past her.
It's a long way, but he is a charger, as you say. Just picking up your €5 on him, even if you lost your money, you'd get a good run for it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, he's very entertaining.
Now, Joseph Riley getting closer. As I talked him away from Guan Yu Zhou, he's now a lot closer to Zhou. And Zhou just Joseph Riley maybe didn't take the greatest advantage of the close-up, but he is much closer. He's not in a position to try to make a pass on Guan Yu Zhou. Remember, there's no kind of team racing here in terms of championships. It's winner takes all. And Guan Yu Zhou, from a lead of 0.121 of a second, has now got a lead of 0.198 of a second.
And so into turn 13, a move from Connor Jupp. Connor Jupp getting ahead of Glenn Van Paris. So Connor now up to 5th place and having an absolute stormer from 15th on the grid. He's picked up 10 places.
And as you say, a guy with something to prove maybe from way back in the grid, if he wants to take the view, hey, I shouldn't be in here, the world's against me, I'll show him. Well, yeah. Now, Joseph Riley, is he going to get any closer to Guan Yu Zhou? I'm standing here specifically while Chris is watching the wider field, just looking at the battle for 1 and 2. And I'm being teased a little bit because Joseph Riley has twice suggested he might be in a position to make a move. Thinking back on it now, it may have been a minor error by Guan Yu Zhou, but when the error was rectified, there was nothing further Joseph could do. But there's very little between them. The margin was 0.198 of a second. Call that 0.2 of a second. Let's give you the read now. It's 0.221 of a second. So the evidence of the transponder is that Guan Yu Zhou is just re-engaging that cushion that he built up a couple of laps ago.
The driver in 11th place is exactly the same speeds and lap times as the lead group. And that man with the bright green helmet is Philipp Hamprecht, the German driver. He's carving his way through the field. Wow. He's come up now onto the tail end of the top 10, and he's catching them fast. And up to 12th place from 34th on the grid is Ralph Aron. So he's having a real great drive. It's not going to be one of his best results that he's ever had, but it might be one of his best charges and best drives. So he's really flying through. You never know, he might get in the top 6 if he can fly after that next group of karts. The gap had closed, you're quite right, Ken, between the two leaders, but it's opened back up on this lap, hasn't it? Joseph Riley has got had the fastest lap of the race. Philipp Hamprecht last time round has got the new fastest lap of the race, 64.7. He's 0.2 of a second quicker than the race leaders. As we see a challenge from Connor Jupp, and Connor Jupp picks up a position here. He's gone into the top 3, has he? Through he goes, and yes, he's made up that move. He's got ahead of the 222 cards of Lars Lambrell.
Wow.
Up to, fourth place, because we've got Jess Bachmann to try and catch still. So Connor Jupp from 15th now up to 4th place. You have to catch yourself here because he's driving as 231, which was Piers Lehane's number last year, and of course they look very similar in terms of the livery of their suits and helmets, don't they? Yeah. But Pearce in 212 is a bit further back in this race, I'm afraid. He had made his way just outside the top 10, but he's 13th now.
Well, Joseph Riley not able to close the gap. He's still well placed, handily placed, but since I've focused on these two throughout, the bottom line is, I feel sure that Guan Yu Zhou has got the measure of Joseph Riley up to this point, and when Joseph appeared to be closing, it must have been a minor error by Guan Yu Zhou, because Joseph not in a position to make a challenge. Having said that, there's still 5 laps remaining. Make that 4 laps now. 4 laps remaining. So Guan Yu Zhou's lead with 4 laps remaining is healthy. It's time for Joseph Riley to be thinking in terms of doing something if he's got a move available to him. It's no use saying let's leave it for a last lap dice, because he's frequently not been close enough. Climbing to the highest point of the circuit, sweeping on this right-hander, and Guan Yu Zhou does not put a wheel wrong. Does seem to be, I think Chris Hartley used an expression earlier on about on rails. I think he was talking then of Joseph Riley in one of his heats in the wet. Well, Guan Yu Zhou on the dry tarmac is not really putting a wheel wrong, although as I speak, Joseph Riley does get a little closer there. Am I trying to talk up a move that's not going to be forthcoming? Possibly so. Chris, let's just have another look at the battle behind for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7.
And in between all those battles, Jess Bachmann has got her destiny in her own hands here. Nobody around her at all. She's in a really nice place, isn't she, in 3rd place? There's a big gap in front. There's a huge gap to 4th place. So the only thing that can happen to her is something positive at the top 2 of a moment. We've seen that before. We've seen it today. We saw it with Guan Yu Zhou in Italy last year when he was leading the race with 2 corners to go, and his teammate tried to get the lead away. They held each other up, and Lars Lambrell, of all people, who's now in 4th place in this race, came through to take a famous victory, and that was in Italy 8 or 9 months ago. So it's a nice place for Jess to be in. She hasn't got any worries. It's just all down to her to keep focused here, but she's driven so well this weekend all the way through the 3 competitive days of action here in Spain. We've got 2.5 laps to go. Joseph Riley is as close as he's ever been now as they go into turn 11 to the tail of the race leader. There's a move up the inside from Lars Lambrell to get his 4th place back. He's having a real battle here with the likes of Glenn Van Paris.
And there's a move by Joseph Riley. When we didn't expect it, the move came, and Joseph Riley, coming up to 2 laps to go, has dived in front of Guan Yu Zhou. So for the first time, Joseph Riley now dictating the pace. Guan Yu Zhou fighting back immediately. These two roaring up the hill, and Chris, even now you wouldn't want to pick the winner between them, would you?
No. Has he gone too early is the only question, I
suppose. Well, yeah. Joseph Riley holding on. Guan Yu Zhou fighting back. Climbing up to the top of the circuit. And it's Joseph Riley getting a quick out. And he's put 1.5 kart lengths between himself and Guan Yu Zhou. Is there an immediate fight back from Joe? Well, I mustn't call him Joe because we've got Joe and Joseph. Guan Yu Zhou chasing down Joseph Riley. And Guan Yu Zhou had a look and had a think, but the gap wasn't there, and the right decision was to back off from a pass. And for the time being, with 1 1/3 laps remaining, Guan Yu Zhou's got a big puzzle to crack.
Great scrap for 4th place here. Glenn Van Paris had got to the head of the group. Connor Jupp's now got to the head of the group, and Lars Lambrell's been pushed back down to 6th position. So Connor Jupp's just made his way back up to 4th place through the middle of the course. We're about to go then on to the final lap of the race. Joseph Riley leads. We've said that a million times this weekend, but it's only late in this race that he's got ahead of Guan Yu Zhou. Very controlled drive this. Very mature drive from Joseph Riley. He's looked in utter control, even when he hasn't been leading the races this weekend. But do not rule out Guan Yu Zhou. He's a huge talent, a Chinese driver, closing up as they go through the first few corners of the lap, closing up now as they go downhill into turn 8, the right-hander. There go the 2 leaders on screen. There's Jess Bachmann a long way back in 3rd position. Into the left-hander at turn 9 they go, but Joseph Riley's not making any mistakes. It's going to have to be a real good move from Guan Yu Zhou in this final half a lap, Ken, if he's going to get this victory.
Yes, it's got to be a move out of the record books almost, unless he just gambles everything, not worrying about whether he tosses away 2nd place. Joseph Riley's better placed on track. There was one opportunity that's gone. Here's another. Joseph Riley's going to win this one, Chris. Sweeping onto the home straight for the 15th time, and Joseph Riley wins it. And Guan Yu Zhou pointing to his head. Wonder if there's the tiniest hint of discord, but hey, let's stay on the positive note. Victory for Joseph Riley, Guan Yu Zhou second, and Jess Bachmann third. But Chris, just in front of us, is there a story there?
Yeah, there was 3 carts coming together, just bumping into one another under braking on the way into the right-hander at turn 11, and the one that came off worst of all, I'm afraid, was Lars Lamberel, who got sent into a spin. I think it's Jack Bartholomew that also got sent into a half spin as well, so both of them have dropped right down the field. So behind the top 3, 4th place went to Connor Jupp, 5th Glenn Van Paris, and Avo Talvar recovered to take 6th, with Jack Constable 7th, Jared Deckers, Tom Grice and Ralph Aron completing the top 10. Ralph Aron from 34th to 10th, and Ed Brand went from near the back of the grid up to 11th place in the end as well. But the story is Joseph Riley this weekend. Fantastic drive, and the emergence of Guan Yu Zhou seems to get better and better every time I see him. And a fantastic weekend, her best ever probably, for Jess Bachmann on the podium.
So confirmation then of the result of the Rotax Winter Cup Seniors Final. Victory for Joseph Riley. In second place, long-time leader Guan Yu Zhou. And in third place, her best result ever in international racing, Jessica Bachmann.